Alright, so where I left off, I was going through the archivers category, identifying which of those archivers hadn't build, but I had had some build success. Because I had not only taken every single patch that Tiger had made, but I'd also tried things on my own, or used patches from Haiku ports, or anywhere else I could find it, or any other kind of solution I could find, even at Stack Overflow or whatever. It ended up working for me. So what I was going to do is go down that and work through all the archivers. What I'd left off is, but before I do that, actually, I was going to mention something about Virtualbox guest editions and Haiku. So let's start with the answer. If you're looking for mouse integration, which as far as I know is the only thing that the Virtualbox guest editions supplied for me using a nightly that was from July and now October. Actually, it doesn't do it for now, but I'll get to how I actually got to that solution. It's not really something I discovered, it was something somebody else discovered. Anyway, if you want mouse integration, that is to say, if you have Haiku in Virtualbox, it's running, and the host, and that's Haiku's the guest. If you select to use the USB tablet as the mouse pointing device, which is the settings I have here. I don't think it matters whether it's GCC 4 or 2. USB tablet. If you use the USB tablet, this is what you get. You got mouse integration. So you don't even need the Virtualbox guest editions for that. Further comments on the Virtualbox guest editions. When I used it, I found that the only thing that really worked was actually the mouse integration, so kind of didn't lose anything there. So if you want to know if the shared folders work, the answer is no. So that's just what it is. In GCC 4, I don't have a complete full screen, but it's not bad. And I can't think of any other features, but it's not worth really belaboring on it. Basically, mouse integration that was, as far as I could tell, was the only practical, really important feature that was missing that is not missing anymore. So the individual that found this, I just looked at one of his posts, and I wish I can give attribution to this person, but I wasn't able to. Okay, well, actually I'm going to, because I'm going to look up in Web Positive. So and then there's other stuff, there's other appreciations that I want to give out also. So all right, so Abdullah came up with the answer that the mouse integration is handled with the setting for USB tablets. I wanted to say that. I'd seen that post before, I just never tried it, because I downloaded actually the Virtualbox guest editions from this link up here that was made by a Clemens of Auckland, New Zealand. I think there's a post here. So I wanted to give him credit for that, because I've been using that from July until now. I've been using that for 4 months, and it worked well. or as well as it can. It does the mouse integration. It's C. Ziedler. So, give credit to C. Ziedler. Anyway, it doesn't. This solution doesn't work anymore. Just download it. I'm not going to do much with it because I know it's not going to work, and the reason why it's not going to work is because one of the libraries that this code was built on is now missing. So, and that's for the mouse device. So download it. It's just okay. I'll just go ahead and expand it. All right, so it creates two directories, home and apps, and then I'll get to what I was not able to do, and you'll see more why I appreciate these were built. So this VBox mouse, if I double click on it, it says it's missing a library called app. I don't know what that is or where it is. In the kernel, you can deal with that if you wanted to. You could make a develop live x86 and you can copy this underscore capital kernel file into it, and that'll go away. So that doesn't stop anything. That's a symbolic link, so that doesn't matter. That's still missing the kernel. That's still missing the kernel. Can't find the kernel. It's like, come on. Then under boot and launch, the service, well, oh yeah, and I'm going to go over these links, Chick, because they're freaking annoying. So some people have tried this software and they couldn't get it to work because for some reason this link is broken. In fact, I'm gonna do something interesting because I think this is because it kind of leads to the answer. Actually, yeah, and I have to do that. So this is a standard zip file, and there's a home directory that's a directory called home contained in there, and there's a directory called apps contained in there. Okay, so first problem, of course, which if this worked, I was going to do a presentation as to how to work around the fact that the place you put your, the files and folders has changed. So the guy in New Zealand's already done enough, but, if he wanted to, he could rearrange his zip file, right? Or someone could do it for him and send it back to him, make it easy for him. And of course, you don't know what to do because these are nightlies, and this will probably work in the latest release. I'm talking about nightlies. I'm kind of saying, well, where's Haiku right now at this stage, versus where it already is. This is what I'm talking about, because where it already is, we're working on what we're doing now, not what we did before, so there's no point in pointing out problems that didn't exist before but exist. The point is to point out the problems now so they don't happen when we do the release. So I imagine that someone will rearrange the files and folders for the individual that packaged this. Perhaps they might, to help him out, to give back some, because he's done a lot of work to get this compiled, I'll tell you. But so that's one incongruence. Eventually that particular file at that particular link that's posted in Haiku OS, unless he replaces that file with an exactly named file at the exact same link, the link will be broken, or it'll download the wrong file, which is another kind of implication of rearranging directories in the name of consolidation. Kind of left everything else outside the Haiku world a mess, which is kind of what we keep doing. But I digress. I've said that to death, so I could stop now. inside the apps folder, there's the VBox Editions folder. And there's a VBox service and a VBox tray. In fact, oh, look, it shows up there. You can't really do anything with it, and I don't know what it's supposed to do exactly. So those two things run. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, and these, now where I would actually put these under this circumstance, just guessing, because before it used to go into maybe boot home apps. We don't have that anymore. We have now we have non-package, which is now under config. And what isn't clear to me is whether it would go into boot and launch or bin. To my mind, since one would probably want to have that run every time you boot in, and well, assuming you would be able to, yeah, I actually can't turn it off, but assuming it was working and you could turn it off, I'd probably put it in non-packaged boot launch. Okay, so for the structure of the zip file, would change it to be boot, home, non-package, boot, launch. Put these two in there. Okay, so I'm going to do that. This is what I did earlier today. And it ended with me saying, well, I don't need to do this anyway. Now, the only thing is I can't really show you that, well, I might be able to show you that the mouse integration application, the only binary that worked for me before, or that did stuff that I wanted it to do, the only way I can show you it no longer works is by going through this whole thing, this whole setup. As I would, how would I take a zip package and put it in the right place? Or what I think the right place is. Of course, it would take some trial and error also, reboot, see if it works, yada, yada, yada. So if I reboot and I see that little logo up there, that means I've put those in the place it probably should go. So let's just try that out, and then we'll come back and we'll deal with the files that were actually in the home directory. All right, so it's there. So to my mind, we put those things in the right place, assuming that they work to whatever degree they're supposed to work. I don't remember what that little tray does. I really don't. If I knew more about it or what it was supposed to do, I could judge whether it's actually broken or not. Okay, so the second set of apps. So I'm just gonna actually move that to the trash. I'm not gonna use it anymore. Notice there are two home directories. This is a lowercase home, so that's fine. Under config, we have add-ons. So let's look around in the real home directory and find out where that stuff is. Config. We don't have add-ons here. Instead, we have add-ons in the non-packaged. And then we have an input server and a kernel directory with the same kind of substructure. So my guess is that those things should probably go there. Now, what's confusing about this is there's actually a settings folder with the kernel, with drivers, but it doesn't have the input server or the kernel subdirectory. So, but there is a boot and there is a launch. And there's also a boot and under non-packaged, so I'm not sure which one is which, but I know they're not the same because the user boot scripts are not there. But Do I need them to be the same? No. All right. Let's go up to here. We have a kernel, so let's go drivers, bin, dbox. Remember when I did this, it says, missing libraries, boot develop lib x86 kernel. All right, so there's two things that you can do, and I'm going to do the first one. Okay, I'm going to make a symbolic link, which is probably the most proper way to do this. And a symbolic link. Why is a symbolic link proper in this case? Because I don't want to have two copies of the kernel, one handling Virtualbox and the other doing everything else. Now this kernel happens to be, if I remember right, it's in boot, and it's confusing because I don't know if this kernel is the same as that kernel. Now, if I looked at, let's see, what is it? What kind of file that it is? That's a B application. Do I really want to investigate that? No, I really don't. You can, but you just make a symbolic link from this. So what you want to do is you want to change directories into. Well, first you have to create those directories. Okay, so what do the errors say? Let's go back to the error. Christ's sake. So we need a boot develop lib x86 and kernel directory to use this particular package that was built this way, to have it pathed in this fashion, to look for this file called _capital kernel _ in boot develop lib x86. It could have been compiled a different way, but it wasn't. And so once Haiku changed its structure, its file structure, where the directories were, yada yada yada, it no longer can find it because it's looking for that file in that specific location. I could make a copy, but it's better to make a symbolic link because we don't want to, have two copies of this file in the system, neither communicating with each other, or other problems could happen. But that's another approach that can be taking place. Let me try to make a symbolic link here. So it's boot develop lib x86 and kernel. So I'm going to cd into boot develop lib x86 after I create those folders. So let's go over here. So you got boot. I'm going to create a new folder. Develop. You can do this. I'm just going to double check on this again. Lib x86. And this is a very long road to go down to show this thing isn't working, but it isn't working anymore, and it has nothing to do with the packager. It doesn't. So the guy over at Haikuware that was saying, don't blame us because the packages are broken, blame Haiku Inc., that's why. I mean, there's thousands of packages out there. Who wants to repackage everything? Or sometimes when the OS is in a state of flux, you got one version of the download that has files in one place and another version of the download that files in the other place. You can't say, well, where do I get Virtualbox guest suggestions? Well, if you're doing this nightly, that may, right? So it's not really the fault of the guy that made this. It doesn't mean the guy makes crap software. What it means is the environment changed on the guy, and he made good software, and there's only so much people can do on a volunteer basis, and it probably wasn't easy. And I'll tell you, and I'll even start a compilation of but I'm not that experienced, but I have some experience with compiling things, so I'll just talk about some of the things that are in there, and then maybe if you have more experience, you can actually get it working. And maybe I'll just make this one separate, and then I'll go on to do maybe one more of the just going down the list of the archivers, and I might be doing that for a while, and then until I get to the benchmarks. And maybe I'll just do all the runs while I'm doing this, and I'll be set and ready to go on all those other ones. But I'm going to do this now. So I'm going to make a symbolic link, but first I'm going to change directories. Oh my god, look at that huge line. Okay, so I'm gonna copy this path. I always seem to confuse this. This will error out if I point to the wrong thing. Let's see if I... Trying to find the symbolic link that I had before. I'm going to do this again, and it's gone because it only keeps 20. Son of a bitch. I love that. Okay, so I don't feel like looking it up. So I'm in that directory, and what I need is a file called underscore capital kernel underscore, and I'm going to point to this actual one over here. And if I got it backwards, I got it backwards. And we'll see that on screen, and we'll just waste another minute. So, over here. Because, of course, in most systems, they keep the history and it stays. Alright. Read-only file system. Okay, so I got it backwards. So let's rearrange it. Alright, so I've made a symbolic link. So when I look in this directory, I should see underscore kernel. Alright, so now it shouldn't complain about the fact that that isn't there for these compiled binaries, right? So let's try this. VirtualBox device. And now it says, could not open VBoxDeb, missing libraries, home builder builds, Haiku Nightly's x86, generated objects, Haiku x86 release, system kernel linkhack.so. Linkhack. Well, that's kind of strange. Okay, let's also try to, let's just keep that in mind, and let's try to copy in some of the other stuff that came with the package. Okay, so I've done everything else. I've got that, but it's missing a library, and I did run a find from, in fact, let's do that. So let's just go over to look for that linkhack.so. See if it's somewhere else on our system, and maybe we can make the same directory structure and put it over there, and then, hey, it works. All right, did I spell that right? Let's just make sure. Linkhck. All right, so it's nowhere in the system structure. So there's a library, and that's the reason why it won't run anymore. So that library apparently was present in the July build that I have, but it's not present now. Now, maybe I could make just a text file, call it linkhack.so, and put it where it wants to be. It might work. I've done that kind of thing before, but that's surprising, and that was under a compatibility layer in Wine years ago. But here it doesn't work. Now, let's just copy over the rest of the stuff, and we'll look at other stuff with links. And you see, this is something I was talking about as far as there being issues with you copy files over, and you think it's going to be intact, and it isn't because the links are broken. So let's go boot home config, and here's home config. Here's my add-on. So it's going to be non-package add-on, input server, and devices. So let's copy file, copy, and file, and paste. So that went in okay, and I expected that. And then we got the kernel. We got our drivers here, and our bins. Let's go to VBoxDeb, copy, file, paste. There, okay, there we go. Now let's go to the device, miscellaneous. the device, miscellaneous, and there it looks. See, it looks like it works. There's if it's a real file, it's a real file. If it's a link, it's linked properly. File, copy, file, paste. And in this case, it looks like it's still linked up. Okay, so let's go over here. This is the way I would put it in there. And then file systems, we have the VBox SF. Copy, file, paste. Generic maybe. VBox guest, file, copy, and up. No. That is a generic file. Paste. Let's just poke around, look again. Device, MISC. Okay, still looks like it works. So let's just see what happens. The real thing is this VBox mouse. And it's missing whatever that is. I haven't searched for it, but don't know what it is. So that wouldn't work. So if it wasn't for this perchance work that literally a hack, and I don't mean that derogatively at all, that setting it to USB tablet causes it to work, you know, still isn't going to work. So all these files are just, that's the only way it would work. And if that bug is taken away, then too bad. we will no longer have this integration until such time. Here's the broken, well, no, I already deleted that, that's fine. Let me look at that. So I saw a broken, let's go back here. VBox, is the kernel drivers, I want to make sure. Okay, with the drivers, yeah, it looked like it was linked properly. Let's go back in here. Just want to make sure it was linked properly. Okay, so that's a broken link right now, which one would think it shouldn't happen that way. I mean, why are we broken here? Well, because that's pointing to a specific place, actually, and that's different behavior than what I've seen on Linux. In Linux, when you copy this over to here, of course these are two different hard disks, but the same file system. This would actually still link to whatever this links to, which is actually this file right here. The link doesn't undo itself until I do this, as far as I know. It may still be broken, depending on what order I go in. Let's take a look, actually. Maybe not. No, it's not broken anymore. So it's across hard disk devices. It doesn't really hold, and it holds the same structure rather than continuing to point to the original link after it's copied, which is different than what I'm used to. Okay. So that's VirtualBox guest edition. So basically, we don't have any guest editions, but if you want a larger screen size, use GCC4. If you want to run applications, but not many applications, use GCC2. The hybrid will still give you the smaller screen. Unfortunately, that's the way it's working right now. We kind of got everything we'd want in one OS kind of split between two. Alright, so I'm going to get rid of all this stuff because it doesn't do anything for me. And I'm happy to have the mouse integration I now have. It doesn't mean that the VirtualBox guest editions are unimportant for this OS. It is very important. What it means is, you know, of the little features that that actually worked, at least as of 2014, that's dealt with by some other means, basically, without having to compile anything or anything like that. I'm going to restart this because I don't want to. I'm also going to get rid of that directory with boot develop. With a hard link to the kernel in there. Okay, empty trash. Let's reboot. Now I'm just going to discuss other things because they just take too long for me to wrong. And now it's giving me some grief about the desk bar. All right, so then I thought to myself, okay, well let's compile this VirtualBox Guest Editions. There was a post, and one person had posted about as far as they had gotten compiling things. So he wasn't able to reproduce a compiled binary, and tell you the truth, by the way that error read for the missing library for VirtualBox Guest Editions, I'm almost of the opinion that those guest editions were only able to be built because it was built inside of Haiku when it's compiled outside of Haiku. You know, when Haiku is every night when the nightly is run, there's a bunch of source code that's in a certain place and it's compiled there, and they have logs and they look at it, and if the build breaks, they'll try to fix it. And they're very good about that. So VirtualBox was not built in some terminal. This one that worked for a while, I think it was actually built in one of the nightlies made available, or in the same manner as the nightly. So that tells you something. And I don't know what linkhack.so was or is, but it certainly is not in the newer builds of the nightly. And in the nightlies that were made around July, it was still there. So VirtualBox Guest Editions was able to run. And again, I just hadn't tried using the disable, not the disable, use the USB tablet as my mouse method, so I'd have mouse integration, but hey, it works. So happy about that. Oh yeah, so what I did is I decided, well, maybe I can see if I can try to compile this myself. And it gets a little bit confusing. I guess, you know what, might as well go through it. It's not going to be a successful compile, but I'll just get as far as I can, because it wasn't straightforward for me as to how it's supposed to work. And there's the guy that made the post about it. I guess I'll do this again, because he does deserve credit for as far as he got. He got this started. So and you're gonna there is it doesn't just work smooth and easy like you would like it, and it has nothing to do with the guy that made the post. I mean, he did a good job reporting back. It's just you kind of had to know or figure out what he was talking about, because otherwise you'd have to write a book. But he did provide enough information if someone wanted to do this badly enough they could. Now I just gotta find this damn page. Which is always fun to do on camera. Alright, it's probably one of the pages I kicked up into my bin here. Okay. Or maybe not. Of course not. Of course not. Maybe I'll try to trust my memory. See what you think is going on here. Alright. I'll just get to it. So, just go over the history. So back in, this is 2011. Might as well just go over here and get the damn thing again. Alexander von Glick posted on the Virtualbox mailing list that he had Virtualbox, quote, working perfectly. And he solicited anybody that was interested. And one guy raised his hand. Yeah, he's an XBOS user. Apparently an Oracle employee. Not sure what the guy's name is. But Francis Revel had worked on this. I'm just going to look for... It was on the VirtualBox developers list. I'm going to look for Von Glick. Or perhaps... Haiku dev, okay. Yeah, so here he is. He posts, he says, this is what I've done. What I haven't done, and this is the end result of a Google Summer of Code project. So the end result of the Google Summer Code project was that we had a working version of VirtualBox Guest Editions. With mouse integration, shared folders, shared clipboard, working well, the first two working perfectly. Okay. Now, here's something. He says, to use these for the moment, boot a recent GC4 Nightly image and unzip in boot and reboot. And this was at the time we had optional packages. Haiku Fire is no longer running. This is just the kind of thing that happens in the computer world. There are links that I've used for every operating system in which there was something that I thought was important that are now gone. So as a side note, as time goes on, if you happen to be newer with computers, don't think that just because information you want on a web page, you don't need to somehow save that documentation if it is the only documentation. Because right here, this is the only documentation. Save it anyway. Or print it to PDF or something, because it may be important later. Who knows? But in this case, and everybody has their own prerogative whether they're going to put the website up or not. It's their own choice. I'm just saying that, the link is still broken. Things happen, right? Then Haiku files. This is where to get. I'm not sure. Well, this is before. Now, see, now if someone were to read this email, of course, the Nightlies don't have. I don't believe they have the optional packages in there. Install optional package. I remember how that used to work, and it's not there anymore. So the files to unzip are gone. The nightly builds aren't the way they used to be. And this is just what happens when things change. That's all it is. But if you change so many things, that your documentation is just gone. People are left confused, basically. And then what's left is the guy that did the Google Summer of Code, and this is his Git branch. But what isn't clear is whether Alexander von Glick had made any other changes. And if he did, if those are in Git somewhere or not. Okay. He says, is anyone willing to take the lead and become a point of contact to try to get this added to VirtualBox? And that's the good step to take, so let's see what happened. And he said, congratulations. He goes, I'd be willing. He says that, you know, the Haiku editions needs to be licensed under MIT, and it is. Given my past BOS background, so basically he has. You know, hope you'll see posts from Ram Shankar, even at haiku.org, discussing the guest editions and how it's working and how it isn't. And then he says, I hope there won't be many K-build related changes after the initial patch, as this is maintained in an external repository by my colleague and is well outside my scope. Okay, so now we get an explanation. Okay, so what ends up happening is you can install Subversion into Haiku, and you can download the VirtualBox source from Oracle. The guy actually... The best instructions are actually, I mean, the instructions are all over the place, but the best instructions for actually getting the source code to attempt a compilation yourself was on the page I still can't find, which is so annoying. Right. Let's try to find this. There we go. That's the thread I was looking for. Alright, so I might just that's more trivial. Okay, so he starts talking here, and then someone goes, hey, are there any editions available yet? And this guy goes, well, no, apparently not, but I got one. Here it is. There's the link. And that's the link I just went over, which works for the non-nightlies, I would gather. I don't think we've had a release since this guy's released the code, and I'm assuming, but I could be wrong based on the instructions that Von Glick had made over the email, that you had to build this in one of the nightlies and not in the released version. Okay, if you just want to use the good news, if you just want to use mouse integration, you got it. But it's kind of and then I'm gonna think about all this stuff. I'm gonna see if there's any ideas I can come up with where this could have gone smoother. Can I? I don't know. We'll see. All right, so this guy, EGM Smith, maybe this is the same guy that. Yes, this is the same guy that did the summer cut. So he came back. And he says, I'm going to try to compile it. And he did give it a call. He probably left the best bits of information there is about VirtualBox guest editions out there. So this is the thread you want to look at. But basically, he tells you how to check out the code with Subversion. You got to have it installed through Haiku Depot. It'll download everything, and then this is where I got confused. And there's one little thing he left out that might stop you. So what he does say is, you download the source code, and there is a directory. In fact, maybe I'll just do that. SVN checkout. Of course, it's not in my history, so I got to type the whole damn thing over again. But hey, it's okay because we've simplified the history. All right, so maybe I even installed SVN because I don't have many things in here. So first, you got to go. Actually, so let's do this. You have to type in. You have to install Subversion. So mocked is available, and you install it. And if it says it wants to install other stuff the first time, you have to say yes. Go ahead and do that. And it doesn't take long at all. You see, the package manager works very well once we got the stuff compiled in a Haiku package. I have no dispute with that. I think that'd be a great result. I just think we're not getting a lot of packages put into the depot because it's so hard to first of all port things, and to second of all then to package it. You put the two together, you've already run out of water at the end of the desert, and now you got to do the packaging. It's really mentally challenging for a lot of people. Alright, so let's do the sub. He says SVN, if I get focus on this thing, SVN checkout. I think he had www virtualbox.org, is it? Is it? Good news is I got mouse integration, so I don't have copy paste over these things. So we got virtualbox.org, we got SVN VBox trunk. Give me my focus. SVN VBox. Are you getting this? Trunk. I'm going to type VBox 5 more times and we'll get it. Okay. Then just space VirtualBox. And you end quote. Do that. Let it do its thing. Blah, blah, blah. Could not. Does not exist. Why is that? http www.virtualbox.org svn vbox trunk virtualbox. Now, why did that work for me earlier today but not now? Did I misspell VirtualBox? SVN checkout. HTTP colon. Virtual. All right, that good enough for me. So if I end up downloading Oracle Enterprise or some other code that I'm not supposed to have, I'll delete it. Or the commercial version of Solaris. I'll get rid of it because it wasn't my intention. I don't think so. I think we got everything in here. Only problem is now I'm going to have a folder called trunk, I believe. Hopefully I'm not going to have a bunch of crap floating around my home directory. Oh, there's a folder called trunk, so there it is. So that's how you do it. Last time I did it was a folder called VirtualBox. Don't know why, but there you are. So after you download all this stuff, you could run a configure, but it'll spit back at you that you don't have a few things that you actually can't install in Haiku, which is Wacom and some Intel compiler, which actually doesn't matter, I don't think, for those purposes. Then once you're done compiling, and he leaves instructions as to what to do here. So he did us a solid. You know, he told us how to run the configure, what configure parameters to use, and all that stuff. And then, you know, of course, this builds very nicely over in the hybrid for Haiku. So, but you know, so by some accounts, you might as well just use that. But people that aren't using Haiku Depot, they're kind of... So on the one hand, you know, it is not in Haiku Depot, but it does build, and I have recently built it, and it built very nicely without a problem. Swear to God, Scout's Honor, inside my... I'm not a Boy Scout, though. Inside my laptop with GCC 4, GCC 2. What am I called? Trunk. Anyway, so it'll take a while to download all this stuff, and we actually don't need all this code. All we're really interested in building are the guest editions if we were able to. But there's one trick that I'm not going to reveal yet. Not that it matters all that much. Well, it will. And see, I'm going to cover my mouse so you can't scroll forward on the video. Hopefully this will be done soon. Okay, so let's just go over it. Virtualbox needs to be compiled with some KMK compiler. Okay. And when configure runs it, it'll find KMK. Like what? How to find it? Because you know, you try to go to command prompt, you type KMK and press enter. It's command not found. It's not installed. You can't install it anywhere. It's like, what the fuck is this thing? Well, buried deep down inside the directory structure, as the guy that did the Google Summer Code pointed out, is the KMK compiler tool set, but it's not pathed. So you actually have to path this, and he didn't go through the pathing process. And so I will go through the pathing process. And one thing of great annoyance to me, I was actually going to make a shell script that would path this. But when you try to path using the shell script, it actually does not work. So actually have to hand path this damn thing. I don't see any point of adding it to the user boot script if it does work, or the profile directory or the .profile file if it does work, to path a one-time compile. Then you still have to close the terminal and open it back up again. You might as well just dig down to the directory that the pre-built binary is in that gets downloaded from Subversion, and use that. Wow, it's taking forever. It's really annoying because it does like every architecture. Every, you know, the whole Virtualbox, as if we're not just doing the guest editions, but the whole Virtualbox. So what happened to the effort with, well, we'll find out how well this does, but the deal ends up being that since one guy's interested in helping Haiku to get started, but I don't know if the other guy is at all. So at the end of the day, it just doesn't really build all that well, at least by hand. And no, I haven't looked at the Haiku Porter recipe or anything like that, and I don't know whether we have our own build of Virtualbox guest editions of an exact version stashed somewhere else and we're not getting the latest stuff. I don't know. I don't know if this problem still exists in Haiku Porter, but if it does, you know, you'll see how far I get. And it's all based on this guy's instructions. And maybe you can fix it if you're not getting the fresh stuff, you know, the stuff every day. What I'd really like to see is them just compile it for Haiku, and the only reason why they're not compiling it for Haiku is because one stupid error that comes up. And the guest editions should come first for anything. They probably should have more guest editions over at Oracle, they should have more guest editions than they have actually the whole complete compile for the OS, as being a host. At least start with that. But fortunately, we have our own secret guest editions with using the USB tablet as our pointing device, at least if you have a flat screen or in the situation that I'm in. Now, if you actually are already using a USB tablet, I don't know whether I have to look at my laptop at home and see if that's working already. You might not have a solution for that. You may have to build it by hand. You may be stuck with a hybrid. And the hybrid has, to my opinion, has issues because if you build some stuff with GC2 and some stuff with GC4, I imagine there's going to be some issues. Or at least they're not going to link nicely together, or you're going to have to do twice the builds. Oh yeah, I built OpenSSL for GCC2, and now I'm going to try to build this package that requires OpenSSL in GCC4. I don't think it's going to work. Just my opinion, but... Oh my god. Ugh, it's still going. Now, is there anything in here? Still not in there. Wow, they even got a full port for Windows NT, but not us. What's that? What's up with that? They even have a build for wine, but not us. How does that work? How do you get Virtualbox just to run in wine and nothing else? Or wine in Windows NT? It doesn't make any sense. Well, I guess if you wanted to run Virtualbox in Linux and wine, which makes no sense, you can, because you already have a native build for Virtualbox and native Linux, so why would you use wine? Well, actually in our case, if we had wine, which we don't, for, in my opinion, political reasons, yeah. We would be able to host an OS if we were able to use wine as a compatibility layer. The political reasons I'm pointing out are include a number of players, includes package source and ability to set out the math library, which was the very basis for Alexander Juilliard saying he wasn't going to work with Haiku because Haiku wasn't willing to make a symlink from library and call it math library. Just make that effort. And meanwhile, if you're building with package source, you don't even care if the math library is in there because it just sends it out. Right before the build process, it removes the word -lm from the compile command. And then it builds it. If that wasn't clear, when I'm saying set it out, if that wasn't clear, that's the clear explanation. So it actually wouldn't even matter. Alexander Juilliard wouldn't even have to set anything out because our package builder would have set that out. We could still do that with Haiku Porter, but now someone's got to do all the work once again. That's already been done for us in what? Package source. Which is why I use package source, not because we haven't done it, because package source right now is a complete set of recipes, and it has a lot of features that are really helpful to Haiku, especially since it's coming into a world where most of the apps were made for Linux first, and it needs to adjust those apps to run on Haiku, which includes adding the network library, removing the math library, moving the pthreads library, things like that. My God. Are we done yet? I could have built like a bunch of packs. In fact, I should probably just do that. So rambling on. So anyway, short answer is use the USB tablet, and if you want a big screen, biggest you're gonna get. is going to come from using GCC4. And it is. The screen is bigger. Didn't pull that out of my ass. It's true. In fact, we can compare screens right now. Let's do that. Let's start the other Haiku. This is the Haiku. This is a GCC2 build. It's got the logo. So that's our full screen of a GCC2 build. Okay, see that? See that? Take a good look at it. Okay, now there's our Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy version. With that. You got that. Where'd the other one go? That. And that. Which one's bigger? That? Or that? Let's do it again, like the eye doctor. That? Or that? Now, if you're wondering whether I've changed, I gotta deal with this. I don't have it. Okay, that's preference. You know, well, he just doesn't set the screen. He's, what a jerk he is. Okay, let's look. Screen. What options do I have? 12. That's the max. 1280 by 1024. I think I'll keep that. See? Keep it. It's big as it gets. Okay. Yeah. Did I restart that? Why did I restart that? Good thing it's quick. Because I just saw that the come on, shut down. Power off. Because I don't have to goof around with mouse integration on that one. In fact, I'm just change the settings right now. Say do it. USB tablet. Done. There you go. I got mouse integration. That's nice. I like that. All right, so we're checked out. Now there should be, there it is. There's the trunk folder, there's the source folder in here. Now there's a K build and there's a binary in here under Haiku exit. This is very important. You need to know that. You need to know this because you're not going to know how to even start the build if you don't know this. So number one, these are all compiled for Haiku, ready to go. They're there. They're just not pathed. So you got to path them. Ways to do that, but the way that makes least sense is probably the easiest. You can copy all these binaries into boot home package. No, boot home config non-packaged bin, and you'll have no problem running KMK. You'll have a full installation of it. But the better thing to do is to path this. So I had to look up pathing for Haiku because I forgot it. I hadn't pathed such a long time. Forgot how it works. Pardon me while I eat. So it goes, I'm just gonna look at my cheat sheet and I forgot again. How about that? There's actually there's a good website for BOS, and of course I probably lost the page, just like all the other pages I want to read. Oh, here it is, called the BOS QBOS chip server. Basically, do path. You go export. Path equals I like that. And take the caps off. I need you to colon dollar caps path. Okay, now KMK will come up. Before it would not come up. No target specified for the module. You need that. Okay, so now when you configure this, and I'm not going to change anything from what this guy said. Okay. You need to use, and this we have to go look at the other page because I can't. Again, once again, can't find the page. I need the page. I need the page. Can't find the page. But got the page over here, so we're just going to look at it. And you have to. This guy goes, try Haiku Porter. This is the guy that made the thing. Try Haiku Porter. Dude, I'm the guy working on this thing from Summer Code. Don't you know that? It's kind of funny. Okay, so now you do, let's make this thing smaller. Go over here. This is the head engineer from Haiku, and they tell me he's like Haiku ports. This is the guy that's worked on all the intricacies of this thing. So you just configure. Configure with build headless, whatever that means. But this guy even said I couldn't get it past any. He couldn't get it past. Show how far it gets. Disable Python. You need a double dash because that's the way GNU does it. I'm gonna put this over here, maybe, right? Be a little smarter about this. Disable Java. No fatal. And a light. Because I'm not in the directory, so I gotta change directories into the trunk. CD trunk. Now let's do that. It's gonna look for stuff. Found stuff. Warning, warning, warning. Hardening is enabled, which means the VBox binaries will not run from the binary directory. The binaries have to be installed SUID root, and some prereqs have to be fulfilled, which is normally done by installing the final package. For development, the hardening will be disabled by disable hardening. And that's not going to be the reason why this fails, but that is annoying. I could care less about hardening. I guess they're doing that because they don't want botnet jokers from stealth installing this shit. And anyway, and having it run, people controlling on people's machines. Alright, so the KMK is pathed. And if you didn't have the KMK path, you would type KMK, which is what you're supposed to do at this stage. You're supposed to just compile and work. But it will fail here on some error I don't understand. But, and this, I don't know why it does that. OpenSSL is in there. So what I actually had to do, since I have OpenSSL installed in package source, I decided to. There's a command in here. You got to look at the figure file, and they're completely unclear as to what the parameters should be. But they basically just want to know where the root of the directory that holds both the libraries and the headers, which is actually I'll just look at this. And of course, get this annoying thing. So now we got to tell the system that this is text, which is always text. But hey, open with that. Yeah. It looks for live crypto and I can't find it. Of course, I'm too stubborn to install it from Haiku Porter because why? I don't want anything installed from Haiku Porter in this. It's the least amount I can, at least while I'm building things with package source. I don't want to run into the errors I did before, and I want to be able to tell what the cause is. So that's not. What I was looking for, it's one of these damn things I gotta wait until I get to it. Maybe it's down here. Or I could correct minus. No, do verified. When did Haiku take over Oracle? Alright, so we'll just do that again, let it die. Okay. Grep minus R, open SSL, and then we got a billion things. We'll just stop it because I just want to know which file I need to look at. There it is. There's the option. It's in the configure. Okay, so this with OpenSSL directory equals. There actually is some. I hate it when it does that. What they really want to know. This is for package source. This is not going to make a package source. Binary. Now, as far as I'm ever going to get... Didn't work. Alright, what have to do? Still fucking up, yes. Let's do that. It worked before. I don't remember what it was. Of course, it's lost with everything else that gets lost in the abyss of my truncated bash history file. Alright, so... Huh? Alright, now I gotta read this stupid instruction. This was for what? Why don't I have a live crypto? I don't understand why I don't have a live crypto built. Anyway. I don't know why the hell I'm doing this. It's taking too long. No room to make target. For some reason it's not copying down, but I've gotten past this. Is that what I did? No headers found. Oh, that's perfect. Oh, you don't just do KMK. You also have to do some other bunch of options with the KMK. That's what it was. So it never actually does find OpenSSL, even though it's there. And even though I believe I'm following the instructions that were with the configure file that I'm not going to bother reading because I've already taken way the fuck too long to do this. But, so we got VBox only additions equals 1. VBox And in fact, that's all I'm going to do, I think. I'll try to build, and eventually it'll just get to the point where it says, oh, there are blah, blah, blah things happening, and there should be 5. I don't even know what the hell it means, but if this succeeds, because that's all I did. And I haven't tried that before, just the Virtualbox. Yeah. Exiting with 5 job server tokens available should be 4. I don't know what the hell a job server token is. So that's as far as we get with the guest editions. But even if we had them, the only thing I've really been able to use is the mouse. But if you want to build it, you know how to get past the job server tokens, and maybe that's just some simple thing. Oh, lickety split. This guy just knew. All he had to do is this. He'd have it. Great. Share it with somebody. Oh, yeah. It also has this thing where it wants the KDEFs. And the guy mentioned this. I don't know what the hell to do about it. I went in. I still get the same error. And yeah, let's get back to the story. So I'm not done yet. So the guy that was on the mailing list said that I don't handle the K stuff. Okay. And there's the result. We have an error in the K stuff. So what was it saying? There's a file that is in include, I think. Let's see. Home trunk source libs K stuff. Home trunk source libs K stuff include. Aha, that makes sense. Let me get the K and then the defs. Okay, in here there's no little thingy for Haiku. I mean, none was ever made. No one even cared to make it. I don't know if the Google Summer of Code guy got this far. I would think he did. I would have thought that he did. But when I look at the GitHub, I don't see this part of the source in the GitHub that he has at all. So, don't know. I guess they were just talking about the guest editions on that email from Alexander von Glick. Otherwise, and I don't know what this has to do with the guest editions, but I do know that the compile option I used was just use the guest editions. So this is part of the guest editions. I'm at a loss as to what happened to the source if this was ever configured the way it needed to be. Now maybe unknown OS really is Haiku. Let's see. And of course, I hate this stupid caps thing. Since I don't like OS 2. I don't know why any of these would be different or not. I guess these are all, they really wanted to make sure it would compile for Solaris. All this stuff I don't know. Oh. Now maybe this number, no, there's more numbers here than there are up at the top. So I thought maybe the numbers matched up, but whatever. And you're still going to get the same result. At least I did before. Let's see what happens. Yep. So now it's saying it can't find icon V. Let's see if that's available. Let's try it. Oh, God. Well. Install the whole world. I really didn't want to install that many things, but I'll do it in the off chance that I might get a successful build in this video. I'm not holding my breath. There's nothing to do with me thinking that it's anything but me that's not able to make the thing build right. How much more of this we got to go? Come on. Let's see. GCC2? I mean, why is it doing GCC2? I don't think I want that GCC2 stuff. I don't have a hybrid. This is kind of... Oh, fuck. I know I'm not going to be able to boot. Do I have Icon V or do I not? Okay, so I don't even have Icon V. Apparently, okay, and I don't want to build an Haiku porter. I don't have to do net. Get check. Okay, you can check it out. It still might fail. It might not, but whatever. Okay, I'm gonna stop for now, and then do another one on maybe if I'm not too tired. Continuing where I left off with trying to make stuff for package stores.